in the second class, in the second and third classes, we have seen Python. So Python, again, there are many more sessions planned. So we will be covering those. So in the two sessions, we covered the first two sessions of Python. Now in the next day, we have seen the prompt engineering. So again, prompt engineering also is not a single session. So yesterday was the first session. So we will cover more sessions going forward. Now today we are going to see the APIs. What is an API, how to use them, and all those things. So just give me 1 minute, I'll come back. Yeah, sorry about that. So today we are going to see APIs. Again, APIs also is not a single class. It will also need a couple of classes. So just we will see what is its introduction and all those things today. And going forward from tomorrow onwards, once you join the course, like we will take it up from the Python third class. We will continue the Python completely till the end, and then we will move on to the Python libraries that are required for AI, and we are going to cover prompt engineering, the remaining sessions and APIs, and then AI applications, and then RAG, and then LangGraph. All those things will continue in complete sequence from tomorrow onwards. So today we will see about APIs first class. So let me share my screen. Okay. So first of all, let us see what is an API. So API full form is Application Programming Interface. Now what it means and why do we need it? So basically, if there are two software systems, then API acts as a bridge or a messenger between those two systems. So what are these two systems? Let's say there is Google Maps, right? So Google Maps has a lot of data about maps. Let's say if we give the source and destination, it will calculate the distance, it will calculate the real-time traffic data and give all those things. So that is one system. Now let's say there is another system which is Swiggy. So Swiggy is a different software application, Google is different. But if you look into the Swiggy in the dine out section, if you have a restaurant, it will show you how long it will take to reach there using the Google Maps data only. It is not having its own maps application for Swiggy. It is still using the Google Maps. So that means Swiggy has some source and destination, and Google has a mechanism to find the distance between that. Now from Swiggy, it needs to call the Google that whatever that service it is being provided. So that is called as API. So Google will provide one API. It will say, okay, this is my API. API is nothing but a function. So this is my API. You just pass the source and destination values to me. I will give you the how much time it will take to reach there. So that is the API. So that means it will enable us to interact between two systems. So that API, the respective team has to provide. Like here in this case, Google is providing the maps related APIs. And similarly, weather data is there. So weather, everything is calculated, forecasted, all those data is present in the weather website. So now that website will provide some APIs. Okay, you just give me some country name or the city name, then I will give you the weather data. So like that, we can have the APIs. So that exactly what we are going to see in today's class. And we will also build a simple Python program calling one API to get some real-time data and display in the output. So now understanding with some real life parallel example. So analogy means it's a parallel example. So let's say there is a, just a second. So let's say that you went to a restaurant, right? So in restaurant, you, that means the person who entered to have food, that person is called as client. That means this is the actual client server model. So one person entered, he is the client. Now he wants to place the order based on the menu available. So whether he will go to kitchen directly and then place the order? No, right? Just imagine if that is the scenario, everybody walks into kitchen, then the kitchen cannot handle that kind of things. There is no streamlined input. So everybody goes in randomly and keep on placing their order. And then there is a security constraint as well. So like hygiene can be lost. In kitchen, they might be maintaining some hygiene standard, but if we allow every customer to walk in, then it will become difficult. And if we want to change our order again, every time customer has to go, that means they are giving access to their kitchen. So which is not the ideal scenario. That's why we have the waiter or the bearer who will take care of these things. So that person uh, is the one who receives our order, that means our request, and then they will go to the kitchen and place the order. And once the food is prepared, they will get that response. The food is the response for our request, and take that response and give it back to us. So this person can be considered as an API. So that is exactly the role an API plays. So there is a client. So client can be a website, I mean the browser or a mobile app or some, any web application. So anything that we build or a Python program or anything. So this is the client. And there is some server, which is like weather data or weather system or Google Map system or flights ticket calculation or railway timings, all those things. Everything is a server. So now those servers are providing some APIs to us. To us means to anyone who can access that API from the program by passing the respective inputs so that we will get the expected output. So that we are going to see here. The terminologies that we need to be aware is client sends the request. So request is the term we need to pass. That means we are hitting the API or calling the API with, so that is called as request. And along with request, we need to pass some parameters, that is called as query params. So parameters, that means if we are hitting the weather API, I need to pass for which location I need the weather. So that will become the parameter, that is called as params. And it will return us some data, right? It will say, okay, I want to know the weather of Hyderabad. So I will call that API endpoint. That URL is called as endpoint. So API endpoint with parameter as Hyderabad, then it will give me the data. That is called as response. So request, which the client sends to the server, and the response, which server sends back to the client. So request and response. And we will be requesting the API only. So that we will see with examples. So we just discussed about this. Why do we need APIs? If every application directly accesses the another application database, so let's say Google Maps example, we discussed it, right? So for a source to destination, everything needed to find the, calculate the distance is available in the Google database, but we are not allowed to access the database. That's why they built an API. So we can access the API. That API will access the database. That means their database is secure. Nobody else from outside can access, but still we can get the data what we need. So and security would become difficult if we allow such kind of access, and then applications would become tightly coupled, meaning if they allow everybody to access and in future their database format or the table format changes, then let's say some thousand people are accessing it, then all those thousand applications will break. So that's why we have an API. So whatever the change they make, they will make sure the API will continue to work. The handling they will take care of inside the API. So using APIs, we can do controlled access. So how we can do controlled access, that we will see. So there will be some public APIs where anyone can access directly. which means no security is needed, like Google search results or Google Maps data, these kind of things, or weather API, these kind of things. And some APIs are private. That means we need to have some API key or credentials that we have to pass, before accessing the data. And then it also provides us reusability. So no need to write that logic again and again, everybody. So anyone can easily make use of the existing program itself. So weather API, that means I am building one app where user can enter uh, their location details, and then I have to display the weather data for them. So I'm building some simple mobile app like this. There are hundreds of apps, like honestly speaking. So let's say I'm building one more app. Honestly, we don't need one app for that, but just assume for the sake of example, I'm building one weather app. So based on the user location, if I have to calculate or predict the weather by myself, it is a very, very big task. I'm not a weather expert. I'm not some geological expert, and I need to write very, very complex logic and all that stuff, right? But everything is already taken care by weather, weather.com. That is the famous website for weather, already taken care. So why can't I just reuse their code, reuse their logic? So they are providing the API where we can call that API, pass the location information. They will give us the weather data. So once we get the data, I can simply parse it. That means look for the exact information that I need, and from there I can simply display the weather information back. So this is the example we are going to write today at the end of the class. Now similarly, another example, UPI payment. So PhonePe is the app that we are using, but how will it know our bank information? The bank balance, and then so the bank balance is available with the, let's say, HDFC Bank. So the my bank balance is stored in the HDFC Bank database, not available for PhonePe directly. So HDFC Bank will provide one API. So okay, if you want to know the balance of a particular thing, then you use my API I am providing you. You pass the account number, you make sure the user is authenticated, and do all those things, whatever the parameters. Those are the parameters needed, and call my API. That means PhonePe will send the request, and then the bank will send the response. Okay, this is the account number you asked for. So this person has this much balance, and if needed, they can send the statement. So all those things based on the API that they are providing, that request and response will be handled. So that is how PhonePe and works. It won't directly access the HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank direct databases. It will only call the APIs provided by those banks. And another example, so whenever you are trying to log into some new website or new, anything, app or anything, so you will first see login with Google. That means you don't have to create a new user registration form. They will say login with Google. How is it being enabled? I am already a user. I have a Google account. My whole information is available in the Google database. Now Google is providing one API. Okay, so now if you pass this person information, then I will make sure I will do all the checks whether this person is actually a Google account user, and I will do this. Then I will return you, okay, whether you can allow this person to pass through or not. So that whole thing is being provided by Google API, and the website is just making use of it. So it will call the Google API with my information, the user who is trying to log in. Then it will do user authentication and whatever the checks, then it will return, okay, you can go ahead. Or it will say, okay, this person does not have Google account, so don't allow him. Something like that, right? So that is where APIs will come into picture. Now coming to AI applications, why API is important and where will we use it? So if you remember in our first class, we have called the ChatGPT API, sorry, Gemini API, right? So that is how we will do. So we will write a Python program. Now I want to, send some prompt and get the response. So that I will do using the APIs, either Gemini or OpenAI or Claude. Every LLM is providing their APIs. So, and it will have a specific format. So you send me a request, I will give you a response. So that request we will add our prompt. So let's say whatever the input user is giving, that we will send in the prompt, and this API will call the internally that actual LLM, and whatever the response is given by LLM, it will send us back. So that response we will take it from the output, and then we will format it, or we will do some calculations and we will present it to the user. So this is how we will use the AI application. So all the LLMs we will access only through APIs. Why? Because like we don't we are building some applications, right? AI application. In that, user is not supposed to like go to ChatGPT or Gemini UI. So whatever the AI interactions we need, we are going to do it through API only. Okay. Now, how this API flow? How will it work? So we will write a Python program. In the program, we are going to send the API request by using specific format. So that we will see. Then it will first authenticate whether this user has required credentials or not. So most of the times it is using through API key, which we have to generate separately and use it. So even for LLMs also, we will generate a API key. That is our authentication. That means, okay, this user is actual user. So it will authenticate using the API. Authentication means just like logging in with the right credentials. Then authorization, whether this person, okay, now this person authenticated. Now whether he has the actual authorization to view the data. So these both are somewhat confusing. So just to understand, so let's say if you are entering into your company, you will have the ID card, right? So you will show the ID card, you will be allowed inside. That is the authentication. That means yes, this person is this this company's employee, so he can be like, I verified, yes, he is a real employee, so it is authentication. After entering inside, you can go to cafeteria, you can go to your cubicle, you can go to some pantry, all those things. That means you are authorized to visit those places, but you will not be allowed into the server room or the data center room. Why? Because even though you are authenticated to enter the company, you are authorized only for certain spaces, not for everything. So that is called authorization, difference between authentication and authorization. So after doing these checks, the processing will happen at the server. Then it is up to the whoever is providing that API. They will take care of all the logic. Then finally, it will return a response. This response we are going to read in the Python program and do some calculations, whatever we need. So first of all, sending the request. So this is the get weather of Hyderabad. I mean, this is in the English easily understandable format, but exact program we are going to do it in a using a URL. Then it will perform the authentication, most of the times using API key or access token, or directly sending the username and password along with API. So in one way, it will do the authentication. Then it will look for the authorization also. Okay, now this user entered the system, whether whatever he is requesting, whether he has the access to use, like take it or not. And then the server processes, like it will execute all the this one, and then finally it sends a response. So this is the response it will send. This is the actual response from the weather API. So let's say if I pass Hyderabad as an input to the API, then the response will look like this. Okay, city is this one, temperature is this much, condition is this much. So based on this, I can take this data from the response and I can display it to the user in whatever format I need. So again, the same flow. So this is how the API looks like. API is nothing but it is a URL only. It is not some, rocket science or anything. It is ultimately a URL. So for weather, this is the actual API. Now you may ask, how can I find this URL? Like for weather, this is this one. For Google, it will be something else. For Facebook, it will be something else. And for railway, IRCTC, they'll have some APIs. It is something else, right? So how can I find the exact URL which I need to call? So that we have to find by ourselves. So let's say if I give weather API, it will give me. So there is a specific website talking about these APIs, what is the URL and what is the format. So I will just go here. First I'll, okay, I already logged in. So I see some API Explorer. When I go here, then I can see the actual API. So actually there should be some dashboard where we can find that URL. Uh, yeah. So this is the URL we need to pass. So this one is the request. That means we are requesting it. So this is the base URL. So this is not something which we will build or we have to remember or nothing like that. So this API we have to fetch from the respective website. So this is the website for weather like this. If you want to call some chat GPT API, you need to go there and then find the actual URL. And sometimes there are private APIs. That means your internal teams have built some APIs. That information they'll only provide. Hey, this is my API. This is the syntax you need to call with. So you make use of it. So this is not something which we will build or invent anything. So this is the base URL. That means this is the endpoint. And after this, it is saying for getting the current weather, use this slash current.json. That means here we need to just add slash current.json. For the forecast, we need to do this. For searching anything, we need to do this. For history, we can do. So just for the weather API, you can see so many endpoints are there. That means so many different things which we can do. If we want to get current weather, we need to go with this. If we want to get history, we have to go with this. So marine something, it may have some functionality which I also don't know. So future.json for prediction, time zone, sports or whatever. So like this, there are so many APIs and we can use whatever we want. So for getting the current weather, we need to use this one. And if you scroll down, this is the URL we need to call. But while calling, we need to send some parameters. What are those parameters? Key, API key, which we have to generate and then we can send from there. And this is a required parameter. So it is a must we have to pass. And queue, there is some parameter called queue. What it means? It's a query parameter based on which data is sent back. It could be following. That means in the queue, we can send latitude and longitude if we have, or you can pass the city name. So this is the parameter which we will use, or we can pass the zip code. We can pass UK postcode, Canada, and there are some other ways, IP address, whatever, some other ways also we can do, but we will simply use this parameter for today. And this one is there, but it is not a mandatory. It required only if we are using forecast API, which we are not doing. So like this, we need to understand the API docs. We need to spend some time how to use all those things. Anyway, weather API, it's not a big deal. It's more of a sample, right? So we will not spend much time here. But when we start using the LLM APIs, then we will clearly go through each and everything, like how many APIs are there, which needs to be used for what, how many parameters are there, which needs to be used for what. So all those things we will see in detail while doing the LLM APIs. For weather API, there is no that much need. Here, our main motto is to understand how to call the API. So that's why don't worry on all these documentation. Just remember this is the base URL and we need to append this method. So multiple methods are there and we need to pass these two parameters, which is what we are going to do in our program. So here the first one will always be HTTP or HTTPS based on whether it's a direct request or an encrypted request. HTTPS means encrypted. And this is the domain, which means which will be specific to each company. For weather, this is one. For Google, it will be googleapi.com. And for, for various companies, they'll have their specific domain. And then version, not mandatory always, but sometimes it will be there. And then if it is there, then we have to pass that also as /v1. So that also they'll mention. And then endpoint, the final method we need to call, which is the current.json in this case. And ultimately, this is how the URL is going to look. Now it will have some query parameters. As I mentioned, two things are mandatory: key and query parameter. So here we have seen, right? We can pass a city name. So we will just use that instead of latitude, longitude, all those things. And key, using this key, it is going to authenticate, which means I need to generate my key, which I did already. So if you go here, so just you need to go to Weather API and you need to log in. That means register one account for yourself. Then everybody will get this key. So this is the API key, which is what I will use while writing the program. And final URL will look like this. So this is my base URL till here. This is the method I am calling. Okay, I think I clicked on that. So this is the method I'm calling, and then I'm passing the parameters using a question mark key. This is the parameter and the value, and ampersand q. This is second parameter and the value of it. In some cases, we will have headers. So let's say if we are not having a application, sorry, if, let's say if we are not having the API key, then we are going to pass it some other way to authenticate and authorize ourselves. So then we will use something called as API headers. So not much needed at this point. Just understand that in addition to the request, we can include something called as header also. And then we will have the request body. So like this. And ultimately we will get the response. So how will it look? We will, see here. So first thing in the response is status code. So whether my request is successfully handled, or it is not handled because my authentication is not enough, or some server is down, so it is unable to proceed. So like that, there can be many cases, right? So 200 means it is successful. So if we get 200 means then we are good. And similarly, uh, the response along with that, we will get this kind of response. That means location, inside that name, Hyderabad, and then current something. So this is the response which it is giving. So this is called as JSON format. So in order to work with APIs, we need to understand the JSON. So that's why we will spend next few minutes understanding this JSON, what it is, what is the format of it, what is the syntax, all those things. So there are types of APIs, which is called as methods. So using an API, I'm fetching the weather information. That means I'm just reading. I'm performing the read operation. I'm not updating or doing anything, right? So which is obvious. And even Google Maps API example we discussed earlier, I'm just fetching the information. I'm not making any updates. So if that is the case, then we use something called as get. It is called as get type of API call. Then we will only retrieve the data and we will get weather, or we can get stock price. So if you look at moneycontrol.com, they are not calculating the stock prices. They are only, the actual calculation will happen in the National Stock Exchange, NSE. But moneycontrol.com will use the NSE provided APIs and they'll get the stock price and they will update in their website. That means here also they are using APIs and for getting any user profile. So whenever we want to get something, we will use the get type of API. Now, but we can use APIs to make some updates also. So that is called as post. So post is when we want to create some new record. For example, creating an account. So Gmail, I'm creating an account. Obviously, Gmail is internal only. There, they may not use API. So let's say if I want to go create a Google account from somewhere else, like from my website, then they'll provide a Another API for creating the account. I need to pass all the details like username, password they have set, and whatever other information, and then make the post API call. Then it will take care of creating also or placing some Amazon order. So within the Amazon, if I go in and place, that's straightforward. Everything is in their ecosystem. But if I want to enable Amazon order placing from my website, then I have to call their order placing API. So, and here also I'm inserting a new row in their orders table. That means I need to use a post. So like this, we have multiple things. And then, so first of all, get is the most used type of format. Post we use occasionally, and put and delete very, very rare, but these are also available. Just put is for the updating an existing records. Delete is for deleting any records. Now we discussed about 200 success code, right? So similarly, we can have 400, which means it's a bad request. We can have 401, that means it's unauthorized. So these are static codes, like always it returns in this way only. We can check the status code. If it is 400, then that means something is wrong. We can do retry. If we get this success code, that means we don't have authorization to use it. So like that, just to understand. So these success codes are in place. 404 means resource not found. Whatever we are requesting, it's unable to get. 500 means some server error. So like this, we have more than this status codes also. These are most commonly used. So as we discussed, we can have HTTP or HTTPS in the API endpoint. Endpoint is nothing but the URL. So HTTP, if we use it, that means it is a direct text transfer. Whenever we are using this, that means there is no encryption. Whereas if you use HTTPS, it will send with encryption. So whatever data we are sending, no one can read because it is encrypted. So nowadays, anyway, most of the APIs and most of the website are HTTPS only. So nothing to worry here. But just in case if you come across any HTTP, just be aware that your data can be accessed by anyone directly while it is being passed to the server. So that means there is no encryption. Whereas in this case, first it will be encrypted at the browser side itself, and the encrypted data will be passed. So even though somebody access, it's not very easy to like read the actual data. So these are the examples. Now, as I mentioned, let's spend some time on JSON and how it looks like, so that you will understand, when we eventually go to the program. So JSON works in a simple way. It will always have a key and its value. So key and its value, key and its value. So this is the format. So in this case, it is this JSON is talking about a person's data. So person name. So this name is the key. And what is the value? Teja. Age is the key and its value. City is the key and its value. So this key is always of string type. That's why it's always enclosed in a double quotation. Whereas value can be any data type. So here it is string, here it is integer. So accordingly, we have to build it. And ultimately, it has to be enclosed in the flower braces. So now if I have to write a JSON in my program, so 08 JSON, how I'll start like this. I'll do some two braces and I will give my key. I'll give a colon. I'll give the value and comma. Next key, colon, value, which is integer. So no need of double quotes. So what is the third one? City. And I'll give colon. So this is my JSON. So obviously JSON we can't give directly in Python. It is a standard format in any application. So in order to give this, we have to hold it inside some uh, variable in Python. So directly if we give, it won't work. So let's say if we give like this, then as you can see, it is properly working. So this is also called as dictionary that we have not yet seen in Python, which we are going to discuss either tomorrow or day after. So until then, just consider this as a JSON only. So now how to access this value, right? That is the first thing we have to check. So we already have some variable. So person of key, just give the key, then we will get the value. Let's try that. Print person, give the key, then it will give the value. So what are we doing here? Giving the variable name, whatever variable we are storing the JSON. And then within the square brackets, usually we use square brackets for index. So when will we use index? If it is a list that we have seen, right, in our list class. So if it is a list, we have to give off 0, off 1, off 2 like that to access. But here it's not a list. It's a key value based JSON. That means we need to pass the key. So in order to get this value. So now if you execute, it is giving me the value. So likewise, I can do for other keys also. So now I can get everything at once. So their corresponding values, I'm just passing the key and getting the value. So this is how we can access in the Python program. So this is nothing but a JSON format. So now it can have multiple data types also. We have seen, right? So it can, this is string, this is integer. It's not a big problem. It will work exactly the same. So here we are having one Boolean. Here we are having some none means the we haven't seen yet. So basically consider it as a null. That means there is no value there. So for all these data types, concept is same. We just pass the key and then we can get the value. Now in JSON, we can have arrays also. For example, here this is the key and the value is not a single value. It's a list of multiple skills. So in this case, how can we access? So what are we saying? We can have a list of skills, right? So let me put it here. So it's a JSON. So always starts and ends with flower brackets. Now I have a key, which is skills. And I have a value. If it is directly here, then it's straightforward. But that is not the case. It is a list. List means this one. So this we have already seen, right? So list means always will have square brackets. And inside that, it can have multiple values separated by comma. So let's say Python, SQL, Java. So let's consider like this. Now, as we discussed, this will not directly work in Python. So just assign it to some variable. Let's say employee equal to. Now, I want to access all this. How can I do? This is the key and this entire list is the value. So simply I can print employee of, just give the key. Not a big deal. It will give the entire list. So far so good. But if I want to access only this part or only the second one, only the third one, how to do it? Using the list concept. So employee skills. Now I have a list. That means I have like this. Now, in order to get the first value, what is the syntax we need to do? Of 0. Right? Is it clear? So basically, we are getting this list by using the key. After getting the list, I don't want the entire list. I want only the first value. Then I will give of 0. Now I want only the second value. What can I give? I'll just give of 1. Next one, I want only. So employee of, first get the key and then you will receive the entire list. Then put this one of 2. So that is how we can access a list inside a JSON. Now, as you can see, for the first time, it's returning entire list directly. But if I put of 0, of 1, of 2, it's returning the respective value. So square brackets means list. That is a blind rule we have seen in the Python. In JSON also, it is the same. So whenever you see square brackets, that means it's a list. So this is a key, but the value is not a single value, it is a list of values. So either we can access the complete list like this, or if we want specific thing, then we have to put the index. So now we can have nested JSON also. So let's review what we have seen. The first thing is this is a single JSON, simple one, key value, key value, key value, no complication. And second type, there is a key, but value is a list. So we have seen how to access it. Now next, the value itself is one more JSON. That is the nested JSON. Let's see example. So let's say there is a key employee. I will write a JSON. So I can include some basic details, right? So key is name and value is this one. Just put comma. I can continue like this, or I can write in next line so that it's easy to read. Designation, Python developer, put one more and write like this, 15. So now this is a key and this is value. That means this entire thing is also one more JSON. So now I can have one more like employee, and then I can add something like HR or whatever. But you get the idea, right? So there is one parent JSON. Inside that, the value itself is one more JSON. Why I am saying this is one more JSON? Because it has flower brackets. If I put square brackets, then it's fine. That's not a problem. But I have one more flower brackets. That means this itself is one more JSON. Now, how to access this? So let's assign this to some variable. Now I can access accordingly. First thing, I can print this entire thing using this key, which is a straightforward. So let's say company of employee. So not a big deal. It will print this entire thing, which is very easy and obvious also. But I don't want it like this. I want to access name only. Then how can I do? Now I got this JSON. Now inside this, there is one more key. So simply you put like this and give it like this. So first the employee entire thing will be accessed. Inside that it is looking for only name. So it will return this one. So that is how we can access a nested JSON. Now I want only this one. So how to do? I have the company, then access the outer key and access the inner key. What is it I want? Designation. So this is how we can access. Just put it inside the print statement. Then it will print. So similarly, I can access the final thing also. Company of employee and then inner key of experience. So like this, we can have multiple nested. So let's say if I have 5 JSONs, then I have to access first key, second key, third key, fourth key, fifth key in order to get the final value. But usually that many complicated things will not be there because it's not an ideal way to program. So usually we'll have 2 or maximum 3. So here the thing is, whenever you see this kind of thing, go for key. But whenever you see a list, which we have seen here, right? Go for the index of index. So that's the only thing you need to remember. Otherwise, accessing is exactly same. You start from the outer layer, outer key, inner key. Now let's say this itself is one more list. So designation, I mean, it does not make sense, but let's assume Python developer, AI engineer. Now I have this designation. What it will print? It will print the entire list, right? It is printing the entire list, but I don't want the entire list. I want it separately. How can I do? Of 0, simple. Now it's printing only one. Let's say if I give of 1, then it will print the next one. So the idea is how to traverse through this JSON and get what you need. So that is something which you should not remember, but you need to just get a high level understanding. Okay, I'll start from here. Next one is again key value. So I'll give one more key. Then I'll get the value done. But if I want this, I will give one more key. But inside this, the value is not a single value. It's a list. List means I'll use index. So like that, you have to understand how to traverse the JSON. So the simple rule, as I mentioned, is flower bracket means it's always key value, or you can identify from the notation also. Square bracket means it's a list, which means we have to access using index. That is the only thing you need to remember. So now let's see some examples. So this is some public endpoint which is provided by GitHub. So it is saying api.github.com/users/octocat. Octocat is some demo user which is available in the GitHub. So this is a URL, right? So which means I can directly access the URL. I don't even have to, I mean, if I want to access from program, then I need to do something. Otherwise, I can directly access from a browser also. So this is the request I'm sending. This is the output I'm getting. See, it is sending a lot of data. It is saying, okay, login is this one and this particular ID is this one, node ID and avatar URL. That means profile icon and, like it will have a lot of data. We need to get what we need. Its location, that user location is San Francisco. They have a blog that is this one, company is this one. So like that, it will give a lot of data. And you can see this is a JSON. Of course, the flower brackets are missing here in the browser, but when we do it from program, you will get flower brackets. And this is key, this is value, key value. So once you get a JSON as a response, all you need to do is store it in Python variable and then access it. Let's say I want to access their company. I will put that Python variable of company, then I'll get this value. So like this we can do. So this is a API, actual API call. And this is the actual response from the API, which is happening in the real time. The same API call, we will do it from program. The same response we will receive, that we will store in a Python variable, and then we will do the processing. So that's the only difference. This I'm just showing like how the APIs are available for us. So this is the response, and we will extract using in this way, whatever the information that we need. Now, for currency exchange, there is one more API, which this particular ER exchange research or something. This is providing one API. So if I go to this API, this is the response. So I am hitting this API and I am passing the parameters US dollars. Now for US dollar, I just clicked this pretty print so we can easily access. So this is again a JSON, right? So this is the key, this is value, key value, key value, key value, key value. Till here it's fine. But for this key, there is again key value pair. So let's say if I want to print how many rupees, the code is INR. So I need to access it accordingly. So the current value is 94.6. This is the live data which we are accessing. So in this way, it is giving entire things. We can't avoid, like we can't filter, okay, give me only this part. We can't do that. That option is not there in this particular API. So it will get everything. But if we are interested only in this, then we need to traverse this JSON starting from here. So if we will assign this to a Python variable, Python of rates, and then of INR to get this particular value. So that's how we can do. And I have written the Python code also. So how we will do is, this is the URL we know, right? So requests.get. What is request? Request is a Python library which is available to us. So we will just import requests. And so what is a library? How to import that we have not yet covered. But for now, assume that request is a readily available Python library using which we can call a specific API. So actually, in order to do this in Java or JavaScript, we need more setup. Whereas in Python, just single import and then directly call requests.get. What is this get? We are doing only reading. That means we will go for get, not post, not put, not delete. Those are the four types we have seen, right? We are only requesting the read access. That means we will go with get and then give the URL and whatever the response we are getting storing in the Python variable response. Then we are doing this response.json so that everything we will get in the JSON value and then we will print this. If we print it directly, it will come like this. Instead of this data off, then we will do login or follows, then we will get the respective data. Similarly, in the second example, import request is common, request.get is common, only the URL is changing. And we will store it in response, response.json we will do so that everything is properly converted to JSON format. Then we will print the data. So data is this one. I mean, here it's showing only partial output, but actual is this one. But we won't print the entire data. We will print only the whatever we need, data of rates of INR, something like that. Like this, data of base code. That means whatever base code we are passing, right? That this one USD it will return. Then data of rates of INR. That means data of rates of INR here. Then it will return the this value. So like that we can do it. Now let's finally go to the weather application. So as I mentioned, requests is a built-in library, Python library. So by default, if we install the Python, we will not get all libraries. It will give us only essential libraries so that our memory is not overly used. So whenever we need a new package, we need to install using the pip Python install package. So pip install what package we want to use. As I mentioned, for API request and response, there is a request. So install this package. How to install? So just go to your PyCharm. You will see the terminal here, or you can do it from from the regular command prompt also. Just give this command, which I already did actually. So it will say all these things. So it's saying already satisfied, but if you install like this, so it will say, okay, doing this, and finally installing the package, this one. Now, after installing, we need to write the Python program to access the API, right? So for that API, what we need? I need a API key for the weather. So let me create a Python file. So I think 09, sorry, Python file 09 weather. So first thing is I need that requests package. So import requests. Now next thing is I need to pass two inputs to this API. So remember when we looked at the API, it was requiring two parameters. One is API key and the second one is city. So let's pass the API key. Let's create one variable where we will hold the API key. So I already got my API key as I mentioned. All we need to do is create the uh, this one account. Yeah, let me show that. So weather API. So go to the weather API, this one. So by default, you will not have account. So just sign up for the account, give your email, register for the first time. Then you will all get this API key. So don't use some other's API key. Always create your own API key. So just copy this. So this is required to access that API. So that's why we are doing this. And some APIs will not require it. So those can be called directly. So let's store the API key. And now we want the city name. Instead of giving city equal to Hyderabad like this, let's take the input from the user. Right? So how to take it? We have seen the input function. Input, enter city name. So that whatever the user enters, we will pass it. Now we need to build the URL. So let's take another variable called URL and let's build the URL here. So what is the URL? We know, right? So Let me copy paste it. This is the URL and we need to put the question mark and pass the parameters. What are those parameters? Key equal to, I need to pass this API key. I already gave the f string. So what should I do? Just give flower brackets, API key. Now I need to pass one more parameter. How to do that? Just give ampersand and that second parameter name is Q. So this key, this Q, all these are constants. We can't change it. And this ones will be provided by the API documentation itself. Q equal to, I need to pass the city, which is holding in this variable. So again, give the flower brackets, just pass city. So we are building the URL here. Now, once we build the URL, how to pass it? I mean, how to call the API? Requests, whatever we are imported here, dot get, dot put, dot post, all these things are there. But here we are doing a read operation. So we'll go for get and simply pass the URL. Either you can pass it like you can format the URL here and pass it, or you can directly do this here also. But it's a general practice that URL will be constructed first using a f string, then you will pass it. Now, once we call this, what will happen? It will give us some response, right? So store it in the response variable. Now, the first thing is you always check for the status code. That means whether we got the 200 status code or not. 200 means it's a success. So if response dot status code. So this is the status underscore code variable that is by default equal to 200. That is the success code. Then that means our request is success. So there is some data in the response. Now convert it into JSON. This is also standard so that it will come into a proper JSON format and store it into some other variable called data. So now before doing anything, let us print data and see what is there. Then we will write the next process, because once we see the data, then we will have idea, okay, this is the data, then I want to access how. Now it's asking city name. Let's give Hyderabad. So this is the response it is giving. So it's a lot of data, right? So it has name, it has region, country, but let's look for weather information. It is giving this one. Temperature Celsius in the this one. Temperature Fahrenheit in this one. And the condition, it is giving mist. Mist means that's a condition like cloudy, mist, sunny, all those things. So again, we have to decide which data we want to print. Now let us decide. I want to print the weather centigrade in centigrades, and I want to print the current condition, which is using this one. So now how to access this? We need to start from the top, and we need to, it's difficult to read like this. So let me put in some other temporary file. So I'll do this and do this, and this is all there. Let me split here. I mean, I won't do for the entire thing, but actually speaking, we need to do for entire thing. So till here it is there, then here it is there. So like this, let's do. So now from here, we need to start reading. That means we have already assigned this data into data variable. Let's say I want to access my, where is this? Temp C. How do I do that? I already have location, and inside that there is one more key, name. But if I access this, I'll get the name. Similarly, if I want country, I can access this. So how do I write it? Data. Data is our variable. So let's assign data here itself. Data is my variable. Data of location is my first key. Inside location, again one more JSON is there. I want name. How do I do that? Name. So this is how we can do. Let's say I want to display country. Instead of name, I can simply give country. Now, let's say I want to come here. So this one current is a key inside the location. So no, actually it's outside the location only. So this one is one block. This is a new block. So that means we will start from data and then we will directly go to current. We don't need to go into location thing. So location is this one entirely is one block and this one is second block. So let's go to current and then inside current, what I want to access, I want to access this. So this is the key which I will keep to get my data. So this is how we have to transfer, traverse the JSON data. So I have this. So let's display only these two things for now. And we thought of displaying text also, right? So text is inside one more condition. So in order to get the text, how do I traverse? Data is a JSON. I don't need to come inside location because this is only for this. I'll directly come to current and then I'll come to condition and then I will come to text. So it's a 3-layer. So current temp C is directly available, but text is not available. So condition and then text. So it's a 3-level. So how to write that? Data. First is current, then condition, and inside condition, I want to access the text. So this is how we need to do. So that's why I have explained the JSON completely, how it looks, how to access all those things. Now let's go here. I have the data. I have seen how is the data. So instead of printing the data directly, I will read some of the informations. So let's say temperature equal to data of, we already have the here, right? So data of current, and inside current, it is in a one more key, which is the temp C. Now let's take one more thing, which is condition. Condition equal to data of current. Again, we have already written here current condition text. Current condition text. That means I'm getting that value. Now I got the temperature, I got the condition. What I can do? I can simply print it. Print. Let's go for F string. Temperature is. I can do temperature. Oh, sorry. Just remove this, remove this. Yeah. And one more F string. Let's say what is this condition? Current condition is, I'll give the variable condition because I have already read that data inside. So storing the response as a JSON into variable, reading by using the exact path and storing into some variables, finally printing those data. So let's write Hyderabad. Now it is saying temperature. This is the actual real-time weather, not some mocked data or some sample data. This is the real-time weather which we are calling along with the conditionals. So like this, we can easily build a weather app in Python. So we can take the input from user. You can, here we are giving temperature and it's only, we can give whatever we want. And similarly, there are other APIs we have seen, right? So for forecast, all those things. So just see how easy it is to build one weather application in a Python. So I think we are a little over, but that's about for today. I'll share the notes. So do you have any questions?
Yeah, thanks for the session, Sajja. So, guys, as you all know, today will be the last free session. Probably I see three individuals have shared. Kavya, can you please share your contact number so that we can get in touch with you? And guys, we are at least targeting 10 people for the batch. probably our team will get in touch with you for the further these details, course duration, all the details will explain for the enrollment part, and you'll have a separate groups created, and you'll be added over there, and you'll have access to everything. Along with the trainer, you can also interact directly. So yeah, any questions? Please feel free to reach out to us. If please share your contact numbers so that we can get in touch with you. And yeah, all right, guys. Then, yeah, thank you so much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you all.